Welcome to Deep Sleep Physics. I hope you're doing well and that you're ready to find some peace tonight. It's a pleasure to be your guide through the mysteries of the dark. Tonight, we turn our gaze inward, away from the distant, cold reaches of the stars, and toward the steady, pulsing heart of the world beneath our feet. Earth is not merely a rock drifting through the void. It is a living, breathing sanctuary, a masterpiece of physics and timing that has been perfecting its rhythm for billions of years. Imagine the world as it truly is, a magnificent sapphire sphere wrapped in a soft, protective blanket of air, moving with a grace that is both ancient and absolute. The very ground you rest upon is a testament to the patient, slow movements of the deep crust, where tectonic plates glide over a sea of molten warmth with the deliberate, heavy pace of a dream. We often forget the immense, silent strength required to hold everything in place, the invisible, constant pull of gravity that anchors the oceans to the shore and keeps the atmosphere tucked close to the surface, like a mother holding a child. This force is not a burden, but a gentle, unwavering embrace, a fundamental law of reality that ensures you are always safe, always held, and always connected to the heart of the world. As you begin to settle, think of the immense, quiet patience of the mountains, those grand, jagged cathedrals of stone that have stood for eons, watching the rise and fall of civilizations with a stillness that surpasses human understanding. They are the bones of the earth, forged in the intense, white-hot pressures of the interior and pushed toward the sky by the slow, rhythmic breathing of the planet. There is a profound, meditative quality to the way the earth handles time. It does not rush. It does not worry. It simply exists in a state of perpetual, calm unfolding. Even the atmosphere above us is a symphony of fluid dynamics, a vast, invisible ocean of nitrogen and oxygen that circulates with a soft, whispering grace, distributing the warmth of the sun and the coolness of the poles in a never-ending, balanced flow. The air you breathe has traveled across vast, salt-sprayed seas and through the deep, emerald lungs of ancient forests, carrying with it the memory of 1,000 different landscapes. It is a thin, fragile, yet incredibly resilient veil that protects us from the harsh radiation of the deep void, acting as a soft, glowing filter for the light of the sun. At this very moment, the Earth is spinning with a precision that is far beyond any clock ever made by human hands. A steady, constant rotation that creates the soft, amber transition from day into night. The sunset is not an ending, but a slow, beautiful surrender, a moment where the world prepares to rest and the shadows grow long and velvet. The physics of the Earth is a physics of harmony, a delicate, intricate web of systems that work together in perfect, silent coordination. From the way a single drop of rain is formed in the cool, gray heart of a cloud, to the way the magnetic field shields the entire planet from the solar wind, everything is part of a grand, unified narrative of peace. As we journey together through the facts of our home, let the weight of the world become a comfort. Let the steady, ancient pulse of the earth become your own, and find rest in the knowledge that you are part of a system that has been designed for stability, for life, and for the most profound, absolute stillness imaginable. The world is quiet, the air is still, and the earth is waiting to guide you into the deep, dark beauty of the night. As we drift deeper into the forest, we lift our gaze from the soil to the canopy, where billions of individual leaves are performing the most sacred, silent alchemy on our planet. This is the realm of photosynthesis, a process where the sun's fire is transformed into the very fabric of life. Inside every emerald leaf, millions of microscopic, shimmering chloroplasts are working with a quantum efficiency that defies human imagination. When a photon of light strikes a molecule of chlorophyll, it triggers a cascade of energy that is so precise, so perfectly timed, that it moves with zero resistance, finding its destination with a logic that feels almost divine. This is the physics of light weaving, where the plant takes the carbon dioxide we exhale, the water it has pulled from the deep earth, and uses the power of the stars to forge them into sugar, into wood, into the very air we breathe. It is a constant, rhythmic exchange, a beautiful chemical circle, where the sun's radiance becomes the solid strength of the oak and the delicate grace of the fern. Think of the forest as a giant atmospheric lung, breathing in the chaos of the world and exhaling a pure, oxygen-rich peace. This process is not just biology. It is a manifestation of the sun's energy stored in the deep rings of the trees. Every branch, every twig, every blade of grass is a vessel of captured sunlight, standing in a state of quiet, radiant gratitude. The trees do not compete for the light. They arrange their leaves in a mathematical spiral pattern, ensuring that every layer receives its share of the sun's blessing, a geometry of fairness known as phyllotaxis. It is a world governed by the laws of abundance, where there is always enough, and where growth is a slow, meditative expansion toward the heavens. The leaf itself is a structural masterpiece, reinforced with microscopic veins that serve as both a transport system and a skeletal framework, maintaining a perfect, flexible surface area to catch the golden rain of photons. As the day fades into twilight, the stomata, those tiny breathing pores on the underside of the leaf, begin to close, conserving moisture in a state of nocturnal, watertight grace. The energy of the day is now being channeled inward, moving down the phloem to feed the roots and the trunk, a slow, sugary descent into the shadows. The forest is preparing for its own version of rest, but it is a rest filled with quiet, metabolic activity. The chemistry of the night is different, cooler, more focused on repair and consolidation. Within the cells, enzymes are moving like tiny, rhythmic craftsmen, fixing the wear of the sun and preparing the structure for the dawn. You are breathing with the forest now, your lungs moving in sync with the great green exhales of the planet. Everything is balanced, everything is provided for, and the light is turning into the soft, velvet shadows of the evening. The forest is a place of absolute organic safety, a world where even the air is a medicine, filled with phytoncides that lower your stress and anchor your mind. Let the heavy, sweet scent of the chlorophyll wash over you. The world is turning. The light is fading, and the green fire of the day is settling into the cool, blue embers of the night. As we move further into the heart of the wild, we begin to notice the smaller, more intricate wonders that hide in plain sight, the masterpieces of nature's smallest architects. Consider the spider's web, a structure of such incredible tensile strength that it is pound for pound stronger than steel, yet flexible enough to dance in the lightest breeze. The silk is produced in a liquid state and transformed into a solid fiber through a mechanical, rhythmic pull, a process that involves a complex molecular rearrangement that scientists are still struggling to replicate. This is the physics of tension and vibration, a world where the slightest touch sends a ripple through a silk cathedral. The spider does not use a blueprint. It builds through a series of sensory, vibrating loops, creating a geometric, fractal trap that is sensitive enough to feel the heartbeat of a moth or the weight of a single dewdrop. Every morning, these webs are adorned with pearls of dew, each one acting as a perfect spherical lens, refracting the world in miniature. Nature's geometry is never accidental. It is found in the hexagonal, waxen chambers of the beehive, a shape that allows for the maximum amount of storage with the minimum amount of material. This is the logic of efficiency, the wisdom of the hive, where thousands of individuals move as a single, fluid mind, governed by the chemical, pheromonal scents that drift through the air like a silent, aromatic song. Even the structure of a single flower petal is designed with a mathematical Fibonacci sequence, a spiral of growth that allows for the most efficient arrangement of seeds and petals. It is a world of hidden patterns, of golden, shimmering ratios that speak of a universal order. Think of the scales on a butterfly's wing, so small they appear as dust, yet each one is a complex photonic crystal designed to manipulate light through structural coloration rather than pigment. This is physics at its most beautiful, where the very shape of matter creates the vibrant, shimmering blues and greens of the forest. Nothing is wasted. Every line is purposeful. Every curve is calculated for survival and beauty. In the microscopic realm, there is a constant, bustling industry that operates in absolute silence. The structure of a snowflake, formed in the high, cold reaches of the sky, follows a six-sided symmetry that mirrors the molecular bond of water itself, each one unique, yet each one a slave to the same perfect crystalline laws. As you lie there, imagine these tiny, perfect structures all around you, the silent webs, the golden hives, the spiraling petals, all moving in a state of absolute geometric grace. The earth is a gallery of invisible art, where the smallest grain of pollen is sculpted with the same care as the tallest redwood. Feel the complexity of your own biology, the way your cells mirror the same rhythmic patterns of the forest. You are a part of this intricate, living lattice, a thread in the grand, organic tapestry that covers the world. The patterns are set, the structures are sound, and the world is drifting into a state of perfect, quiet equilibrium. The geometry of the night is unfolding, the fractals are repeating, and the world is resting in the cradle of its own magnificent design. We descend once more, following the path of the water as it moves from the surface into the cool, dark mysteries of the subterranean world. Water is the blood of the planet, a liquid memory that carries the story of the Earth in every molecule. As it filters through the sand and the limestone, it is purified by a slow, gravitational ritual, eventually finding its way to the roots of the ancient trees. The root system is a vast, branching brain, sensitive to the slightest change in moisture, temperature, and chemical composition. Roots do not just grow downward. They search, they navigate, they communicate with a form of subterranean electrical intelligence. Experiments have shown that roots can hear the sound of water moving through pipes, steering their growth toward the rhythmic, liquid hum of life. This is a world of absolute, damp darkness, where the physics of capillary action allows trees to pull water hundreds of feet into the air, defying the constant, heavy pull of gravity through a miracle of surface tension and molecular cohesion. The water moves in a continuous silver thread from the deepest root tip to the highest leaf, a vertical river that never breaks, held together by the same forces that keep the stars in their orbits. Within the soil, there is a constant chemical dialogue between the roots and the billions of microscopic organisms that call the Earth home. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria and mycorrhizal fungi working in a state of perfect symbiotic peace. This is the foundation of our world, a hidden, pulsing stability that remains unchanged by the storms above. Consider the way the Earth breathes through its pores, the gas exchange that occurs in the cool, dark spaces between the grains of soil. It is a slow, rhythmic metabolism, a subterranean life that sustains the vibrant green world we see on the surface. The soil is not just dirt. It is a living, complex matrix of organic memory, where the fallen leaves of last year are transformed into the nutrients of tomorrow, a cycle of eternal, graceful return. As you feel the support of your bed, imagine yourself as a part of this deep, grounded system, your own weight merging with the solid, reliable crust of the Earth. You are anchored, you are fed, and you are connected to a source of life that is as deep as the mountains and as old as the rain. The water is flowing, the roots are drinking, and the Earth is settled in a state of profound, subterranean rest, is connected, and the Earth is breathing in its long, dark, patient sleep. As we emerge from the cool, damp depths of the soil, we find ourselves witnessing one of nature's most profound, silent miracles, the mystery of the chrysalis. Within this small, jade vessel, time seems to fold in on itself. A caterpillar has surrendered its form, its movement, its very identity to a process of total, liquid transformation. This is not merely a change of shape. It is a complete, molecular reimagining of what it means to be alive. Inside the protective, silk-lined walls, the caterpillar's body dissolves into a rich, primordial soup, a collection of imaginal cells that hold the blueprint for something entirely new. It is a state of absolute, vulnerable surrender, where the old must completely vanish for the new to be born. Through the laws of biological, chemical alchemy, this liquid state begins to reorganize, forming the delicate, veined structure of wings and the complex, multifaceted eyes that will soon behold the world in a different light. The physics of the wing is a masterpiece of lightweight, aerodynamic engineering, covered in thousands of microscopic, shimmering scales that reflect light in iridescent velvet patterns. When the butterfly finally emerges, it does not rush. It waits in a state of quiet, rhythmic patience, pumping fluid into its wings until they are strong, steady, and ready to catch the breeze. This is the narrative of nature, that growth often requires a period of deep, dark stillness, and that the most beautiful transitions happen in the silence of the cocoon. Think of the energy required for such a change, a metabolic fire that burns slowly, steadily, consuming the past to fuel the future. The chrysalis is a fortress of potential, a silent, unmoving promise of flight. It hangs from a single thread of silk, a tether to the physical world that is stronger than it appears, held together by the same molecular bonds that give the spider's web its legendary resilience. Within this stillness, there is no fear, only a perfect, rhythmic alignment with the laws of change. Nature does not mourn what is lost. It celebrates what is becoming. Every cell is a traveler, moving through a sea of chemical signals that guide it to its rightful place in the new architecture of life. This is the intelligence of the void, the wisdom of the empty space where creation takes root. You are in your own cocoon now, a sanctuary of soft, protective layers, where the noise of the day is dissolving into a peaceful, liquid calm. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to change, only the steady, quiet unfolding of your own rest. The transformation is complete. The wings are still, and the air is heavy with the scent of a world reborn in the night. The world is quiet, the stars are watching, and the butterfly of the mind is resting in the cradle of the dark. Leaving the quiet, jade shadows of the forest floor, we drift toward the edge of the world, where the land meets the vast, rhythmic heartbeat of the sea, and descend into a realm where the sun's light cannot follow. This is the midnight zone of the ocean, a world of absolute, pressurized indigo, where nature has invented its own form of radiance. Bioluminescence, the physics of living light. Imagine millions of tiny, drifting organisms, each one a miniature lantern in the dark, creating a galaxy of cold, blue fire in the deep water. This is a chemical reaction that produces no heat, a masterpiece of energy efficiency where nearly every erg is converted into a soft, glowing signal. Some creatures use this light as a silent, shimmering lure, while others use it as a sudden, blinding defense, a flash of silver in the velvet dark that confuses the hunter and saves the hunted. It is a world governed by the laws of the seen and the unseen, where light is a language and shadow is a sanctuary. The deep ocean is not a void. It is a crowded, vibrant cathedral of life, where the pressure of miles of water acts as a heavy, constant embrace. holding everything in a state of perfect, suspended equilibrium. Here, the jellyfish moves with a slow, rhythmic pulsing, its transparent body catching the internal glow of its own biology, appearing like a ghostly, weightless dream floating through the void. Some species have even mastered the art of biological time travel. The Turritopsis dohrnii, a tiny, delicate medusa that can rewind its own cellular clock, returning from adulthood to a polyp state when the conditions of the sea become too harsh. It is a liquid, immortal loop, a reminder that nature is not a straight line, but a series of beautiful, recurring cycles. As you sink into the darkness of your own rest, imagine this cold, blue radiance all around you, the silent lanterns of the deep, the pulsing rhythm of the tides, and the heavy, protective weight of the ocean. You are floating in a sea of absolute, liquid peace, where time has no meaning and the noise of the world is muffled by the infinite depth. The water is still, the lights are soft, and the world is dreaming in the blue silence of the abyss. Everything is glowing, everything is held, and the ocean is breathing in its long, rhythmic dark. As we rise from the heavy, pressurized silence of the deep, we find ourselves back in the cool, night air, where a different kind of invisible force is guiding the world's most determined travelers. This is the mystery of the avian compass, the hidden physics of bird migration. Imagine a tiny, delicate songbird, weighing no more than a few coins, embarking on a journey of thousands of miles across trackless oceans and vast, shifting deserts. It does not get lost. It does not falter, for it carries within its very biology a map drawn by the Earth itself. This is the science of magnetoreception, a miraculous quantum sense that allows living creatures to feel the invisible lines of the Earth's magnetic field. Within the eyes of these travelers, there are specialized proteins called cryptochromes that are sensitive to the blue light of the sky, triggering a quantum entanglement that allows the bird to literally see the magnetic field as a soft, shimmering layer of color across the horizon. It is a world where the planet's magnetic poles act as a grand, cosmic lighthouse, guiding the weary, beating wings toward their ancestral homes. The physics of this journey is one of incredible, calculated endurance, as the birds navigate the high-altitude, atmospheric rivers we call the jet streams, using the wind as a powerful, invisible conveyor belt that carries them toward the warmth of the south. They fly for days without stopping, their tiny, rhythmic hearts beating in a steady, unwavering pulse that mirrors the rotation of the stars above. This is the narrative of the global nomad, a testament to the fact that nothing in nature is truly isolated. Every movement is part of a grand, planetary migration that has been unfolding for millions of years. Even the monarch butterfly, with its fragile, orange and black wings, participates in this epic, generational journey, traveling from the forests of the north to the mountains of the south, guided by a solar compass that is calibrated to the very second. It is a masterpiece of biological, chronological timing, where the position of the sun and the angle of the light become the coordinates for survival. As you settle into the stillness of your room, imagine these millions of travelers moving above you in the dark, their wings whispering against the stars, their internal maps fixed on a destination of peace. You are safe in your own steady sanctuary, anchored to the ground while the world moves in its beautiful, sweeping patterns above. The path is known, the compass is set, and the earth is cradled in the soft, magnetic arms of the universe. The birds are resting in the high branches, the butterflies are huddling in the fir trees, and the world is drifting in a state of perfect navigational grace. As the night deepens, the forest begins to play its final, most subtle symphony, the music of acoustic ecology. We often think of nature as a collection of sights, but it is also a world of profound, layered vibrations. This is the science of biophony, where every creature, from the smallest cricket to the largest elk, has evolved to occupy its own unique frequency niche. It is a masterpiece of sonic, spatial arrangement, where animals avoid competing for the same channel of sound, ensuring that their songs and signals can be heard through the thick, verdant curtain of the woods. The physics of sound in a forest is a complex, beautiful dance of reflection and absorption. The heavy, waxy leaves of the oak trees act as natural diffusers, breaking up the sound waves and turning them into a soft, ambient hum, while the moss-covered floor acts as a perfect acoustic sponge, soaking up the jagged noises of the day and leaving only the pure, rhythmic essence of the night. There is a restorative, healing power in these natural frequencies. Studies have shown that the sound of a bubbling brook or the gentle rustling of the wind through the pines can synchronize the electrical activity of the human brain, moving it into a state of deep theta wave relaxation. This is the Earth's own lullaby, a constant, steady frequency that has been playing since the beginning of time, a reminder that we are designed to thrive in the presence of these ancient, organic vibrations. Even the trees themselves are vibrating. The movement of water through the xylem creates a low-frequency, ultrasonic clicking, a sound of thirst and life that moves through the trunk like a silent, mechanical heartbeat. It is a world that is never truly quiet, but always profoundly, deeply still. The air is heavy with the scent of pine needles and cold, wet stone, and as the wind moves through the canopy, it creates a white noise that is so perfect, so absolute. It feels like the universe itself is exhaling. Imagine your own mind as a part of this sonic landscape. Let the jagged thoughts of the day be absorbed by the moss. Let the worries be carried away by the high, whistling currents of the air. You are tuned to the frequency of the earth now, your heart beating in time with the slow, patient pulse of the woods. The symphony is playing, the audience is at rest, and the forest is settled in a state of absolute, harmonic peace. Everything is heard, everything is felt, and the world is breathing in its long, resonant sleep. As we leave the resonant, harmonic whispers of the forest, our consciousness begins to drift toward the furthest, coldest reaches of the natural world, where life has learned to survive in a state of beautiful crystalline defiance. This is the realm of the high Arctic, a landscape of absolute, blinding white, where the very air feels like a sharp, silver needle against the skin. In this place of extremes, we find the polar bear, the great, solitary guardian of the ice, a creature whose entire existence is a masterpiece of thermal, biological engineering. To look at the bear is to see white, but the physics of its fur reveals a much deeper, more complex secret. Underneath that thick, snowy coat, the bear's skin is actually pitch black, a perfect, radiant surface designed to absorb every single microscopic joule of the sun's warmth. Its fur is not white at all, but consists of thousands of clear, hollow tubes acting as tiny, organic fiber optic cables that funnel the light of the distant sun directly down to the dark skin. This is a miracle of light trapping, a biological solar array that keeps the bear warm even when the mercury drops into the deep indigo shadows of the -60s. Imagine the silence of this frozen world, where the only sound is the slow, rhythmic crunch of paws on the ancient blue ice. The ice itself is not just frozen water, it is a vertical, pressurized archive of the planet's breath, holding tiny, silver bubbles of air that have been trapped for hundreds of thousands of years. As the bear moves across the floes, it is walking upon the history of the world, a silent, brittle museum of past climates. This is a world governed by the laws of the albedo effect, where the vast, white surface of the snow acts as a giant planetary mirror, reflecting the sun's energy back into the cold, quiet void, ensuring that the world stays balanced and cool. It is a delicate, rhythmic dance between the heat of the star and the reflection of the frost, a physics of preservation that allows life to exist in a state of suspended, frozen grace. Beneath the ice, the ocean remains a constant, heavy 29 degrees, protected by the insulating, crystalline lid of the frozen surface. In this sub-zero, liquid cathedral, the narwhal and the seal move in a slow, pressurized ballet, their blood filled with specialized proteins that act as a biological, thermal antifreeze, preventing the formation of jagged ice crystals within their very cells. This is the narrative of the ultimate resilience, the wisdom of the cold, where energy is the most precious currency and every movement is calculated with a slow, patient economy. The bear does not rush. It waits for hours by a breathing hole in the ice, a study in absolute predatory stillness, its heart rate slowing down to conserve the fire within. This is the physics of the wait, a meditative, quiet focus that mirrors the stillness of the stars above. As you lie in the warmth of your own sanctuary, think of this immense, white patience, the way the world can be both harsh and profoundly, deeply beautiful. The ice is a shield, the fur is a conduit, and the earth is held in a state of perfect thermal equilibrium. You are safe in your own steady warmth, shielded from the cold by the heavy, soft layers of your rest, while the great, white sentinels of the north keep their silent, ancient vigil under the shimmering green curtains of the aurora. The world is balanced, the frost is steady, and the earth is breathing in its long, frozen dream. Everything is protected, everything is enduring, and the silence of the ice is a blanket that covers the mind in a deep, unwavering peace. Drifting, turning, safe in the cold, beautiful quiet of the night. As we leave the frozen, crystalline cathedrals of the north, our journey carries us across the vast, curving spine of the planet toward the serene, amber heart of the great deserts. This is a world of absolute, radiant extremes, where the physics of heat and the geometry of the wind create a landscape of ever-shifting, golden beauty. At first glance, the desert may appear as a void, a silent, parched expanse of nothingness. But to the patient eye, it reveals itself as a place of incredible biological ingenuity and deep structural wisdom. Imagine the dunes, those massive, undulating waves of sand that stretch toward the horizon like a sea frozen in time. These are not random piles of dust. They are governed by the elegant, rhythmic laws of fluid dynamics, as the wind carves the surface into perfect crescent shapes known as barkans, or long, linear ridges that mirror the invisible currents of the atmosphere. Every grain of sand is a tiny, weathered fragment of mountain, a microscopic silicate jewel that has been tumbled and polished by the elements for millions of years. When the wind moves across these dunes, it creates a low-frequency, haunting hum, a phenomenon known as the singing sands. This is the physics of friction and resonance, where the movement of billions of grains creates a collective harmonic vibration that echoes through the heat-shimmering air like a distant, ghostly organ. Beneath this golden, sun-drenched surface, a hidden world of moisture and life is managed with a desperate, beautiful precision. In the desert, water is not a liquid. It is a memory, a precious chemical ghost that is guarded with a fierce biological economy. Consider the cactus, a masterpiece of structural botanical engineering. Its body is not a stem, but a living, expandable reservoir, capable of swelling with the rare, sudden gift of a thunderstorm, and holding that life-giving fluid for years within its waxy, pressurized core. The spines that cover its surface are not just for defense. They are a sophisticated atmospheric cooling system, creating a thin, turbulent boundary layer of air that prevents the sun's heat from reaching the plant's skin. And in the cool, indigo hours of the pre-dawn, these spines act as tiny, silver lightning rods for the mist, catching individual molecules of water from the air and funneled them down to the thirsty, waiting soil. This is the alchemy of the arid, the ability to find life where there is only fire, and to turn the heat of the star into the cool, green juice of existence. Even the creatures of the sand move with a slow, rhythmic economy of motion. The desert fox, with its massive, delicate ears, uses them not only to hear the microscopic, underground scuttling of a beetle, but as a radiant thermal radiator, pumping its blood through the thin, veined skin to cast off the internal heat of the day into the cooling shadows. This is the physics of heat exchange, a constant, silent negotiation with the environment to maintain a perfect internal equilibrium. And as the sun finally dips below the horizon, the desert undergoes a sudden, dramatic transformation. The heat of the day, held by the sand, begins to radiate back toward the stars in a state of rapid thermal release, and the air becomes a crisp, velvet indigo. This is the hour of the great cooling breath, when the desert reveals its most secret nocturnal life. Flowers that bloom only in the dark, their petals white and radiant to catch the light of the moon, release heavy, intoxicating scents to guide the bats and the moths through the pathless, shifting dunes. You are resting now in the cool, protective shadow of your own peace, much like the desert creatures that burrow deep into the sand to find the constant, steady temperature of the earth. Beneath the surface, the desert is always cool, a sanctuary of stillness that remains unchanged by the fire above. Feel the weight of your body settling into your bed, your own internal heat dissipating into the soft, velvet air of the room. You are safe, you are anchored, and you are part of a world that knows how to find its way through the fire and the frost alike. The sands are settling, the wind is whispering, and the great golden silence of the dunes is a blanket that covers the world in a state of absolute meditative grace, drifting, cooling, safe in the ancient, shifting quiet of the night. Everything is balanced, every grain is in its place, and the desert is dreaming its long, sun-drenched dream under the watchful, silver eyes of the stars. As we leave the vast, shifting, golden silence of the desert sands, our journey carries us into a world of absolute, saturating green, where the air itself feels like a heavy, warm, velvet cloth against the skin. This is the tropical rainforest, the most vibrant, complex biological engine on our planet, a landscape governed by the physics of moisture and the relentless, vertical competition for the light of the sun. In this realm, the atmosphere is so thick with life that every breath you take is filled with the invisible, aromatic chemistry of 1,000 different species. This is the world of the high humidity, a state where the air is nearly saturated with water vapor, creating a thick, protective thermal blanket that keeps the forest at a constant, rhythmic 78 degrees, regardless of the hour. This stability is the foundation of the rainforest's incredible, ancient intelligence, a place where the seasons do not change, allowing life to evolve into forms of specialized, intricate beauty that are found nowhere else on Earth. Imagine the structure of this green cathedral, rising in distinct, tiered layers, from the dark, mossy floor to the high, sun-drenched, emergent trees that pierce the clouds. Every level of the forest is a different, pressurized ecosystem. In the high canopy, the leaves are thick and waxy, designed to shed the sudden, torrential rains of the afternoon in a state of perfect, hydrophobic grace. These trees act as massive, hydraulic pumps, pulling thousands of gallons of water from the deep soil and releasing it back into the air through the microscopic breathing pores of their leaves. This is the physics of the biotic pump, a process so powerful it actually creates its own weather, drawing in moisture-rich air from the distant oceans and fueling the great aerial rivers that carry rain across entire continents. The forest is not just a collection of trees. It is a global atmospheric regulator, a living heart that beats in time with the climate of the world. As you settle into the stillness of your own space, imagine yourself cradled within this immense, humid sanctuary, where the world is always growing, always breathing, and always held in a state of warm, protective moisture. Beneath the canopy, in the dim, emerald light of the understory, the physics of light capture becomes a matter of life and death. Here, plants have developed massive, wide leaves to catch the stray, flickering sunflecks that filter through the ceiling of green, like mirrors designed to trap the faint, golden memories of the sun. Some plants, the epiphytes, do not even touch the ground. Instead, they live high in the branches of the giants, catching their water and nutrients directly from the heavy, mist-laden air. This is the ultimate, weightless existence, where life is suspended in the mid-air, anchored by nothing but the humidity and the ancient, rough bark of the mother trees. Even the sounds of the rainforest are governed by its density. The thick, moist air acts as a low-pass filter, absorbing the high, sharp frequencies and leaving only the deep, resonant calls of the howler monkeys and the rhythmic, steady hum of the cicadas. It is a soundscape of absolute, layered depth, where every call is a signal in a vast sonic network. As the evening rain begins to fall, listen to the sound of 1,000,000 dewdrops hitting the leaves, a liquid, percussive symphony that echoes through the dark. This is the physics of the drip tip, a leaf shaped so perfectly that it directs the water away from its stem, preventing the growth of moss and ensuring its own clean efficiency. Everything in the rainforest is purposeful. Everything is connected by the silver, shimmering threads of the water cycle. You are drifting now in this warm, emerald dream, your body supported by the heavy, protective atmosphere of the night. There is no cold here, no harshness, only the constant, steady pulse of the living world. The roots are anchoring the soil, the leaves are drinking the mist, and the great green heart of the forest is beating in a state of absolute rhythmic peace. The rain has passed, the air is sweet with the scent of wet earth, and the world is settling into its long, humid, restorative sleep, safe in the heart of the infinite, verdant dark. As we leave the heavy, humid, emerald embrace of the rainforest, our journey leads us to the edge of the world, where the land begins to dissolve into the rhythmic, salt-scented cradle of the sea. This is the threshold of the tides, the coastal buffer where the physics of the terrestrial and the fluid worlds collide in a state of perfect, surging equilibrium. Here, in the brackish, sun-drenched waters, we find the mangroves, the great, salt-defying sentinels of the shore. These trees are masterpieces of biological, chemical resilience, surviving in a world where other plants would wither and fade. Their roots do not hide in the dark, quiet earth. Instead, they rise above the water in a complex, arching labyrinth of stilt-like structures, creating a physical, organic barrier that breaks the energy of the crashing waves and turns the ocean's fury into a soft, lapping whisper. This is the physics of wave attenuation, where the intricate, tangled geometry of the roots dissipates the kinetic energy of the sea, protecting the delicate inland sanctuaries from the power of the storm. Imagine the intelligence required to drink from the sea. The mangrove has developed a sophisticated molecular filtration system, using its own roots to block the salt while allowing the pure, life-giving water to pass through into its veins. Some species even use their leaves as sacrificial, salty altars, channeling the excess minerals into a few golden leaves that eventually fall, carrying the ocean's salt away and leaving the rest of the tree in a state of hydrated emerald grace. This is the alchemy of the shoreline, the ability to thrive in a state of constant liquid flux. Beneath the surface, among the arching roots, a hidden nurseries of the ocean is bustling in absolute peace. Small, shimmering fish and delicate, translucent crustaceans find shelter in this wooden cathedral, protected from the larger, predatory shadows of the open sea. It is a world of absolute, shaded security, where the mud is rich with the memories of the forest and the water is filled with the minerals of the deep. The mangrove forest is a bridge, a living, breathing filter that purifies the runoff from the land and guards the clarity of the coral reefs beyond. As the tide begins to rise, moving in a slow, inevitable lunar pull, the forest undergoes a rhythmic, aquatic transformation. The water creeps up the bark, submerging the lower branches in a cool, dark embrace, and the forest floor becomes a shimmering, liquid mirror. This is the physics of the tide, a planetary, gravitational ritual that connects the heartbeat of the forest to the movements of the moon. There is a profound, meditative security in this cycle, the knowledge that the water will always return and that the land will always emerge, a constant, unwavering dialogue between the moon and the mud. As you settle into the stillness of your own rest, imagine yourself floating in these shallow, sun-warmed waters, cradled by the arching roots of the mangroves. Feel the gentle, rhythmic surge of the tide as it lifts the weight from your mind. The water is clear, the sand is soft, and the world is held in a state of perfect coastal balance. The sounds of the shoreline are a natural, percussive lullaby. The distant roar of the reef, the soft, bubbling sigh of the mud as it breathes, and the rhythmic clicking of the small crabs in their burrows. It is a soundscape of absolute, liquid peace, where every ripple is a signal of the ocean's care. The evening air is sweet with the scent of salt and blooming sea hibiscus, and as the stars begin to reflect in the still, rising waters, the forest settles into its nocturnal, aquatic dream. The roots are holding the coast, the tides are washing the world, and the earth remains a firm, unwavering sanctuary for the life that exists between the two worlds. Everything is sheltered, everything is rising, and the shore is dreaming in the soft, silver light of the moon, safe in the heart of the infinite, rhythmic sea. As we drift away from the arching, protective shadows of the mangrove roots, we find ourselves pulled by the deep, steady currents toward the vast, unmapped wilderness of the open ocean. This is the pelagic realm, a world of absolute horizontal infinity, where the surface is a shimmering silver membrane, and the floor is miles beneath the reach of the sun. In this blue, liquid cathedral, nature moves on a scale that is both humbling and profoundly, deeply peaceful. Here we encounter the great whales, the largest, most intelligent wanderers of the deep, creatures whose very existence is a masterpiece of fluid, thermal, and acoustic physics. Imagine the blue whale, a being so massive its heart is the size of a small car, beating with a slow, powerful, rhythmic thrum that can be felt through the water long before it is seen. This is the physics of the giants, where the buoyancy of the salt water acts as a weightless, supportive cradle, allowing life to grow to proportions that would be impossible under the heavy, constant crush of gravity on land. Within the whale's massive, streamlined form, every system is a study in deep-sea biological optimization. Its layer of blubber is not just a store of energy. It is a sophisticated thermal insulator that allows the animal to maintain its internal mammalian warmth, even as it dives into the near-freezing indigo shadows of the abyss. This is a world governed by the laws of hydrostatic pressure. As the whale descends, its lungs are designed to collapse safely, and its blood is saturated with specialized proteins that store oxygen with incredible chemical efficiency. But it is the whale's voice that reveals the true acoustic magic of the deep. Sound travels 5 times faster in water than in air, and in the deep, cold layers of the ocean, there is a phenomenon known as the SOFAR channel, a natural horizontal sound corridor where low-frequency songs can travel for thousands of miles without losing their clarity. This is the physics of the long-distance oceanic telegraph, where a whale singing off the coast of one continent can be heard by its kin across the entire vast sapphire basin. It is a world of constant melodic connection, where the ocean acts as a single resonant chamber for the songs of the giants. As you settle into the stillness of your own rest, imagine yourself floating in this infinite, weightless blue, supported by the heavy, salt-rich embrace of the sea. There is no effort here, no gravity, only the slow, rhythmic surge of the great currents. These currents are the planetary thermal conveyor belts, moving warm water from the equator to the poles and cold water back again. A global, fluid ritual that regulates the temperature of the entire world. This is the physics of the thermohaline circulation, a slow, patient movement driven by the subtle, heavy changes in salt and heat. A heartbeat that takes 1,000 years to complete, a single, majestic loop. The ocean is not just water. It is a living, moving memory, carrying the heat of the sun and the minerals of the earth in an eternal, graceful cycle. Even the great sharks, those silent, muscular sentinels of the blue, participate in this balance, using their sensitive electrical organs to detect the microscopic, pulsing heartbeats of their prey from miles away. This is the sixth sense, the ability to perceive the very energetic fabric of the world. As the night sky reflects on the surface of the deep, the ocean becomes a mirror for the stars, a place where the boundary between the water and the cosmos seems to vanish into a single indigo piece. You are safe in this vast, liquid sanctuary, held by the same laws that guide the whales and the currents alike. The water is deep, the songs are long, and the world is drifting in a state of absolute pelagic grace. The giants are diving, the currents are turning, and the great blue heart of the planet is beating in its long, rhythmic dark. Everything is supported, everything is connected, and the ocean remains a firm, unwavering cradle for the dreams of the infinite, drifting, breathing, safe in the heart of the silent, sapphire night. As we leave the vast, sapphire weightlessness of the deep ocean, our consciousness begins to rise, moving upward past the shorelines and the forests, climbing toward the jagged, frozen crown of the world. This is the realm of the high peaks, the celestial mountains, where the air becomes thin, sharp, and pure, and the physics of life must adapt to the low, atmospheric pressure of the sky. At these altitudes, the world is a landscape of absolute vertical drama, where gravity is a constant, heavy sculptor of the stone, and the weather is a raw, unpredictable force of nature. Imagine the snow leopard, the ghost of the mountains, moving across the vertical, shale slopes with a silent, rhythmic grace that seems to defy the very laws of physics. Its body is a masterpiece of high-altitude biological engineering, with a massive, thick tail that acts as a balancing, gyroscopic counterweight as it leaps across the abyssal, rocky voids. This is a world governed by the laws of rarefied, cold air, where oxygen is a precious chemical currency, and every breath must be used with a slow, patient economy. The creatures of the high wild possess blood that is saturated with a higher concentration of hemoglobin, a biological, molecular adaptation that allows them to scavenge every stray, microscopic molecule of oxygen from the thin, blue air. Even the mountain goats, standing on ledges no wider than a human hand, are masters of mechanical, structural stability. Their hooves are designed with a hard, outer shell and a soft, rubbery inner pad, creating a natural, hydraulic suction that allows them to grip the smooth, vertical face of the granite as if they were part of the stone itself. This is the physics of friction and center of mass, a world where balance is a form of meditation, and the stillness of the mountain is reflected in the steady, unwavering focus of the life that dwells there. High above these rocky, ancient ramparts, the golden eagle soars on the invisible, thermal elevators of the sky. It does not beat its wings, it simply, elegantly leans into the rising currents of warm air, using the physics of convective, atmospheric lift to circle the peaks for hours without a single, wasted movement. Its eyes are a miracle of optical, focal precision, capable of detecting the slightest rhythmic twitch of a marmot from miles away, a telescopic, living lens that sees the world in a state of high-definition, predatory clarity. As the sun begins to set over the jagged, purple horizon, the high peaks undergo a transformation known as alpenglow, where the light of the hidden sun is reflected off the microscopic ice crystals in the atmosphere, painting the summits in a temporary, radiant wash of rose and gold. This is the physics of scattering and reflection, a moment of celestial, optical alchemy that turns the cold, gray stone into a glowing, divine beacon. As you settle into the absolute, protective silence of your rest, imagine yourself standing on one of these high, silver plateaus. The air is cold, but you are wrapped in a warmth that comes from within. The stars feel close enough to touch, and the noise of the human world is lost in the vast, vertical distance below. There is a profound, meditative security in this height, the knowledge that you are above the storms, anchored to the very roof of the world. The sounds of the high wild are a minimalist, ethereal symphony, the low, haunting moan of the wind through the crags, the sudden, rhythmic clatter of a falling stone, and the absolute, crystalline silence of the falling snow. It is a soundscape of the void, where every breath is a prayer and every heartbeat is a testament to the endurance of life. The evening air is becoming a crisp, velvet indigo, and as the shadows stretch across the glaciers, the mountains settle into their nocturnal, frozen vigil. The eagles are nesting in the high cliffs. The leopards are blending into the gray, mottled stone, and the earth remains a firm, unwavering foundation for the dreams that touch the sky. Everything is elevated, everything is clear, and the world is dreaming in the cold, majestic light of the stars, safe in the heart of the infinite, high, wild. As our long, meditative journey through the intricate living tapestry of nature reaches its soft, final destination, we find our consciousness returning from the jagged celestial peaks and the deep indigo trenches to the simple, profound truth of the Earth's embrace. We've drifted through the emerald, whispering networks of the ancient forests, witnessing the silent, hydraulic miracle of the sap's ascent, and we have marveled at the liquid, alchemical surrender of the chrysalis, where life dissolves only to be reborn in a state of perfect, winged grace. Every part of this journey, from the microscopic, geometric perfection of the spider's web to the grand, rhythmic migrations of the great whales through the sapphire, acoustic corridors of the deep, is a single, unified testament to the extraordinary, shimmering intelligence of the natural world. There is no part of this planet that is not interconnected, no breath that is not shared, and no movement that is not governed by the same elegant, universal laws of physics and harmony. Nature is not something we merely observe from the outside. It is the very rhythmic fabric of our own existence, a constant, steady reminder that we are part of a system that is as old as the stars and as resilient as the ancient, weathered stone. As you sink now into the deepest, most restorative layers of your rest, let the weight of these wonders settle into your mind like the fine, golden silt settling on the floor of a quiet, sun-drenched lagoon. The pressure of the day has completely dissolved, leaving only the calm, steady pulse of the planet's heart. You are held by the roots that anchor the soil. You are shielded by the thick, protective atmosphere that filters the cold of the void. And you are guided by the same invisible, magnetic maps that bring the weary, drifting travelers home after their 1,000-mile journeys. There is nothing more to seek, nothing more to understand, only the simple, profound truth of your own belonging to this magnificent, living organism. The earth is a sanctuary, the dark is a velvet, protective blanket, and the silence is a gift that allows the soul to return to its original, peaceful equilibrium. Imagine the millions of leaves in the forest, all stilling their breath at once. Imagine the whales sinking into a state of weightless, vertical slumber in the deep. And imagine the mountains standing in their eternal, frozen vigil under the watch of the Milky Way. Everything in nature is a cycle of return. The water returns to the sea, the leaf returns to the soil, and the mind, in the quiet hours of the night, returns to the source of its own deep, internal peace. Your breath is slowing now, moving in time with the slow, atmospheric tides of the planet. Your heart is beating in sync with the deep, subterranean rhythms of the ancient earth. Every cell in your body is a reflection of the stars, a vessel of the same alchemical energy that fuels the sun and grows the grass. You are safe, you are anchored, and you are part of a world that is fundamentally, beautifully whole. The journey is complete, the circles are closed, and the sanctuary of the dark is open to receive you in a state of absolute, restorative grace. The earth is dreaming, the stars are steady, and you are exactly where you are meant to be. In the quiet, in the dark, in the infinite, peaceful heart of the wild. And as the light fades, the silence becomes absolute. Tonight, you have drifted through the mysteries, absorbed the peace, and understood the ancient rhythm of the cosmos. Remember that the universe is always holding you, a constant, silent anchor. Rest now, deeply, sleep well, and I look forward to guiding you again through the physics of the dark. Good night.